Hey, what is up, everybody? I am here to give you another Read Aloud series for the WWE Championship, a look back at the rich history of the WWE Championship, written by Kevin Sullivan. I know you couldn't see my mouth right there, but it doesn't matter. I'm here to give you another one of these, and if you want to check out my other Read Aloud series for this book, you can click right up here. And yeah, because I don't repeat myself. I only go chapter by chapter, and if you missed the other chapters and just watching this one, I'm not going to repeat myself. So you better click on right up there. I'm going to try to finish this out. I plan on to finish this out either by the mid-beginning or middle of October, but we're going to have to wait and see. And another thing is I have some plugs that I have to do. So, if you want to check out future videos of my channel, you click right down there and subscribe to my channel for future content on this YouTube channel. And if you want to check out something that's a lot of fun to do on this channel, you can click right down below and check out the Massasoit Wrestling Corner. We're going to be uploading. Actually, we were supposed to do a video today, but I really didn't feel like it. I was in that Monday kind of mode, and if you ever felt that way when you're going to school or work or something, you understand. But you click down below. It's hosted by me, James the Heatman Hebert, and Ori Dre. I mean, it's a lot of fun. We just sit down and we talk about the current status of professional wrestling. It's a lot of fun, and you should totally check it out. The next one, this is a definite this time. The next one is going to be this Friday on, I have to look it up. It's going to be this Friday on October 2nd, 2015. So make sure you check that out. We're going to be talking about a lot of nice stuff. Now you can check out my other two channels. One is over here. It's called Owen the Talkinator. It's all my non-wrestling videos. It's where I talk about all my non-wrestling content. You can check that out. I uploaded a video last night, so that's going to be a lot of fun to check out. You can also check out my CM Brothers channel right over here, that's a lot of fun. I talk about both wrestling and non-wrestling fans. I talk about a variety of topics on that channel. So if you want to check it out, you click right over here. And my friend James the Heatman Hebert, somewhere in this video I'm going to post this, has two YouTube channels. One is called James Hebert. He makes a lot of custom Titrons of professional wrestlers, and he does a lot of voiceovers for other music and stuff like that. It's a lot of fun, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. You should check that out. And then you can check out his other channel called Weymouth Youth Wrestling, where he is holding a 30-man tournament, a 32-man tournament to crown the first ever WIW champion. And I'm one of those 32 people in that tournament. And my character was completely done. He created my character over the weekend, and I actually played as him on Friday, so was a lot of fun. And you can check that out. I'm going to win the whole thing. And if you want to know who I'm facing in the tournament, I'm facing Kyle Weaver. So Kyle Weaver, I am going to beat you and advance in the tournament and move on to become the first ever WIW champion. And he said he's going to have the first He said he's going to have the first test match up pretty soon. So check that out. It's a lot of fun. Now that I've gotten to that, I've talked about all this stuff. Let's read this book. I am going to be reading, what chapter? I don't even know. Wait, hold on. I gotta look up the chapter. Hold on. I gotta find it. This is chapter 15, and it's called A Family Affair. Now, if you've watched the last video that I did on this, you know what I'm talking about, because I hinted at it. And it did hint, and I read some things that happened in that. But if you haven't, then you're gonna in for a treat. So let's get right into it. It's called A Family Affair. Dripping with perspiration, both his own and Yokozuna's, Bret Hart finally made his way to the Madison Square Garden locker room area to commence celebrating his second WWE Championship. Colleagues, friends, and family all congratulated the Hitman, but when he failed to wrap his sweaty arms around his wife, Julie, she took it as a slight, but he was truly trying not to soil her new outfit. which makes sense because he was always sweaty after wrestling 2 matches in one night. So, Hart's success in the ring did not translate to a win in marriage. He and his wife were going through an extended, rough patch in their relationship. Finally, on the night of Hart's championship victory over Yokozuna, Julie asked for a divorce. What should have been a joyous occasion for the Hart family turned very ugly very quickly. It just took the fun out of everything, says the Hitman. That must suck. The night that you win the WWF Championship in the main event of WrestleMania, your wife asks for a divorce. That sucks. I feel bad. Rather than let his personal problems get in the way of his professional life, Hart sunk deeper into his work. I had 2 different lives. I had the life on the road and the life at home. I was very much like Jekyll and Hyde. It never affected my performance in the ring. When things weren't going well at home, I was able to get more deeper in my matches and use that as a distraction from the things that were holding me back at home. Which makes sense. I think that's how a lot of people kind of should think, You leave your problems at home, and when you show up to work, you leave all the problems behind you. It doesn't have to be just wrestling. It can be if you work at Stop and Shop, if you work at advertising, it can just be anything. No matter where you work, your problems at home, stay at home. Try to leave your problems at home and your problem at work, separated. Because then I feel like it would be all fucked up if you did that. Okay, so that's not even what I thought was going to be in this at all, not going to lie. Unfortunately for the Hitman, family eventually started to hold him back at work too. Another brother-in-law, Jim the Anvil Neihart, helped Owen Hart capture the prestigious King of the Ring crown. The 2 Hart outcasts placed a giant target on the back of the champ. The Hitman wanted nothing to do with another family feud, but he sensed that round 2 of the Bret vs. Owen saga was unavoidable, especially with Neihart driving the wedge between the 2 brothers to depths it had never reached before. And the reason why this is also so important is because Jim the Anvil Neihart used to be the tag team partner of Bret the Hitman Hart and together they made up the Hart Foundation. So that was pretty cool. I actually am surprised. I think they probably have had a championship match before, but that kind of would have been cool if they did have a championship match, because that would be like tag team partners facing off. So that really sucked there. Obviously, that's part of the storyline, and I think his wife divorcing him was obviously legit, but this is just part of the storyline. So, I bet they use this in the storyline though. Bret and Owen ultimately agreed to square off in a steel cage match at SummerSlam. Historically, there are a variety of reasons a rivalry escalates into a steel cage. In this case, it was crystal clear. The gigantic structure was to keep the Warren Hart's most notable, the Anvil, from interfering, which makes sense. That's why normally you have a cage match. Nowadays, everyone just interferes in cage matches, so it doesn't matter. But in this case, that's why this match was happening. And, in the end, with many members of... And here's actually a photo. Here's a photo of the match between Bret Hart and Owen Hart inside the steel cage. So, let me continue. In the end, with many members of his family watching from ringside, it was Bret reaching the arena floor just moments before his brother. Because you win a match by escaping. Back then, you couldn't pin or make your opponent submit to escape the cage. You had to I don't know if it was... But you had to escape over the top rope or out the door. I don't know if at that time you could pin, but I'm not really... I think actually you could. So the only way to win cage matches is by pinfall, submission, or escape the cage over the top or out the door. So, yeah. Okay. But anyhow, I'm just read that. In the end, with many members of his family watching from ringside, it was Bret reaching the arena floor just moments before his brother. Upset with the result, the Anvil unexpectedly attacked the British Bulldog and his sister Diana from behind before going after Bret. Owen and Neihart tossed the champ back into the cage and padlocked the doors so nobody could get in. They then proceeded to decimate Bret as a helpless Hart family gaze in horror. Brothers attempted to scale the cage, but they were knocked down each time they reached the apex. The Bulldog was finally able to get over the top and get into the cage, which sent Owen and the Anvil running scared. So that sounds like an epic beatdown right there. So let me continue. Several months into his second championship reign, the Hitman made a random title defense against Bob Backlund on an episode of Superstars of Wrestling. It had been 10 years since Backlund proudly wore the WWE Championship at age 44. Few people actually expected him to beat the considerably younger Hart, because they would think you would want to put over the young talent. So let's see what happens. Nonetheless, Backlund put on a stellar performance, nearly pinning the champ on several occasions before ultimately falling victim to a small package. After the match, the Hitman extended his hand toward the normally well-mannered Backlund. Instead of shaking Hart's hand, as everybody expected, Backlund went absolutely insane. He slapped the Hitman across the face and then locked him in a painful cross-face chicken wing submission hold. That was like his finisher at the time. With a psychotic look on his face, Backlund applied more and more pressure as officials ran to the ring to stop the carnage. Once he was pried off the champ, Backlund held his hands in front of his face and stared at them in disbelief. It was as if he was overcome by something he had no control over. That sounds like pretty good stuff right there. Backlund's ruthless post-match attack led to a submission match for the WWE Championship at Survivor Series. Owen Hart was in Backlund's corner. His role was to throw in the towel at any point he believed his man couldn't continue. The British Bulldog held the same role for the champ. With Stu and Helen Hart sitting in the front row, the bell rang, signifying the start of the historic first ever submission match for the WWE Championship. That sounds like a pretty good match right there, because Bret Hart and Bob Backlund are both submission-based wrestlers, so that sounds like a good WWE Championship match right there. And Backlund's now a heel. I don't think Backlund had ever worked as a heel before. Like when I talked about this in the earlier chapters, he was that American boy. Everybody liked Bob Backlund, so now it was pretty cool. So let's go over the match. And it was cool that I like the concept that you had to throw the towel in. You didn't actually tap. I don't know if you actually could tap out. It doesn't. But I'm assuming just by the way you just throw the towel in. So let's see how the contest went. Toward the latter part of the contest, the Bulldog darted toward Owen, who had just interfered. Instead of running away from the charging Bulldog, Owen simply dropped to the ground as his brother-in-law went headfirst into the steel steps. The impact rendered the Bulldog unconscious, which meant there was nobody available to throw in the towel for Bret if needed. As the Hitman peered over the top rope to check on the Bulldog, Backlund snuck behind the champ and cringed in the cross-faced chicken wing. After several minutes, seeing his brother locked in the dreaded submission hold, Owen appeared to have a change of heart. For the better part of 1994, Owen had stopped at nothing in an attempt to destroy his brother. But now that Bret was facing permanent injury, the younger Hart started to cry. "I'm sorry, Bret," he shouted, tears rolling down his face. 5 minutes later, the Hitman was still locked in the hold. It was becoming painfully clear that something had to be done. The match needed to be stopped. The Bulldog, however, was still out cold on the arena floor, meaning that there was no way to stop the assault. Okay, so you couldn't just tap out. They had to throw the towel. But yeah, here's Bob Backlund put it in the cross-faced chicken wing on Bret the Hitman Hart. I just thought I'd mention that. So let's see what happens. After 7 minutes watching his brother writhe in pain, Owen began to plead with his parents to do something. I didn't mean for this to happen, he wept. Stu and Helen finally stood up and walked toward the ring. Owen handed the towel to his mother and begged for her to toss it in. Stu, realizing how important the title was to Brett, yanked the towel out of his wife's hand. For the next 2 minutes, the three Hearts stood there helpless as Backlund applied more and more pressure to this devastating hold. After 9 minutes, watching her son in the painful hold, Helen forcefully grabbed the towel back from her husband and threw it in the ring. And signifying the end of the match, as well as Bret Hart's 8-month WWE Championship reign. And here's Bob Backlund winning the WWF Championship at Survivor Series. I just want to say, there is like a little... I understand like the story because their parents were forced to do it, but it does say that the British Bulldog is the one that's supposed to do it. It does clearly say that. Like, technically the British Bulldog... Because why wouldn't Owen Hart just throw... I guess technically they would think that it's for Bob Backlund, but... I mean, technically the rules say that the British Bulldog is the one that has to throw the towel in for Bret Hart. It's not... No, but that's technically what it says in the rules, so technically that shouldn't have even counted. I mean, I know what they're trying to do there. It makes sense for the storytelling, and it showed that Owen Hart actually cared about his brother. So let's see what happens. Owen's tone immediately changed. Owen's tone immediately changed following the match. His concern turned to joy as Bob Backlund was presented with the WWE Championship. It was all a sham. He didn't care about his brother's well-being, only seeing his brother lose the title. Owen was so convincing when he was pleading with my mom to throw in the towel, remembers Brett. And then he started jumping for joy. Fans hated it. I remember they were almost ready to pelt my parents with garbage on the way back. I think it upset my mom. She was a little caught off guard and at that reaction of the fans. And that's the end of the chapter. So that's the end. I actually like that storytelling because it was all just a scam. So that way Owen Hart would get the championship off Bret the Hitman Hart. It's just such a great heel thing to do. Because technically you would think he would be concerned about it. Owen Hart would be concerned about his brother. But that apparently isn't the case. So I like that. The good chapter here. And obviously Bob Backlund had turned heel. So that was cool. And yeah, just a good chapter overall. So that's pretty much it, guys. I'll be back at some point to make a video for you sometime this week.